Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we are unlocking the Splenic Hub. And I would love to know, if you look at your body graph, your human design. Oh, we're recording now. If you look at your body graph, your human design chart, you're going to find that splenic center, the splenic hub on the left side of your chart. I want to know, is that defined or undefined, colored in or white? And then what are the gates that you have in there? Because that is the center we are going to be gathering around today. Bella, did you want to say anything? Say hello. What are you feeling about the Splenic Hub today?
First and foremost, because it's a webinar, I would like everybody's inside, if you change the chat so it says right to everyone and not just to me and Ashley. That way we can still feel like we are together. And I always feel the spleen, like especially the last minutes with a countdown, and it's like my body's getting prepared, and so it feels like this. The spleen that's kind of getting ready, and also like a little bit of excitement, and not nervousness, but like excitement, I think, more for coming in here and doing this with everybody.
Yes, yeah. Well, thanks again for joining us. For those of you that are on the webinar live with us inside the container, and then those of you that are joining from Facebook, thanks for finding this live, finding us, and tuning into this. So this is partway through our Thrive by Design journey, and we already ventured into the root, the sacral solar plexus. So this is the fourth hub or center that we are going to dive into in this series. And this is all about intuition, instinct, and body awareness. And I'm so excited to jump into this because it is a really powerful center. Okay, let me get our slides up and we'll get things going. Okay. So when I was first feeling into the key that was going to unlock this hub, I felt like it should be the flower of life, because this is very much linked to, you know, our instinct, our survival. It's our animal nature as well. And I think that when you can tune into your body and the health of your body, you can feel when you're thriving, you can feel when you're surviving. And depending on if you have it defined or undefined, you're going to feel other people and their state of health and well-being as well. So this is kind of like an indication for health, because it is linked to your immune system as well. What do you feel, Bella? This is the first time you're seeing this, Bella, because we didn't go into collaboration for the key this time around.
Yeah, what I've been feeling the last 2 days is that often when we speak about the spleen, we speak about the splenic authority. It's so much about the instinct and about the body awareness in the now. And I've been feeling more into the health aspect and the immune system, and especially now, after 2 years of fighting this outside enemy that we call COVID, that I feel like the spleen and the immune system, and how an open spleen might adapt to the changes and what's going on, and how a defined spleen. I think that is an interesting inquiry as well. So I want to add today just that awareness of immune system that is in our spleen, whether it's defined or undefined.
Okay, so again, the Splenic Hub is the place to be today. So instinct, intuition, and body awareness. And we call these hubs because it's like the gathering place for these archetypes. It's like the home. And so each of these archetypes have a similar theme. And that's why they are in the same tribe or home. So they gather in the hub, and what we can see is that we have the librarian, which is archetype 48. We have the intuitive, archetype 57, the grid worker, archetype 44, the maestro, archetype 50, the guardian, archetype 32, the daredevil, archetype 28, and the perceiver, archetype 18. And these are the archetypes that live within this hub, and they all have that relation to instinct, intuition, and body awareness. And this series is brought to you by the Inner Circle. So this whole journey that we're doing, we do this inside our Inner Circle membership community. And so with the webinars, with the lives that we do every month, because the theme of the month for us now, this coming month, is the Splenic Hub. And so we're going to go into instinct, intuition, and body awareness in the Inner Circle. We just left the solar plexus hub. So we were dancing and swimming in the realms of emotion last month inside our Inner Circle. So what you see here for the hour and a half, however long we're on for the live, we extend it into the Inner Circle, and we have embodiment webinars, we have chart readings, we have questions for contemplation. We have the teaching video as well. And I think the last one was like an hour and a half or 2 hours long. So we do definitely go deeper into this. So as we are gathering together in the Splenic Hub, we're going to be talking about instinct, intuition, and body awareness a little bit. And we're going to pick one archetype to expand upon within the Splenic Hub. So anybody that's on the webinar with us right now, we're going to put up a poll at some point, and you guys are going to pick which archetype you want us to expand on. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So again, if you feel the calling and you've been joining us for these Thrive by Design webinars every month, and you feel like you want to go deeper in this one, maybe the Splenic Hub is calling you and you really want to dive into your own intuition and health, and want to join us in the Inner Circle. It does matter who's in the Inner Circle, because the people that are gathering together kind of dictate what energy we are feeling into energetically, intuitively, and we are curating based on what we are sensing. It's not a mental thing either. It's just like whoever's in our field, they're helping the co-creation process. Is that kind of what do you experience, Bella, with having this all in the Inner Circle and journeying together?
It was like you were saying yesterday, and I think you might only have posted it in the Inner Circle, but how many times it's morphed and it's changed, and you birthed this even before you and I knew each other. And this was one of the places coming in, working with you, where I had so much excitement, because I was like, there's so much potential, whether we're 50 people in there or 5,000 people there, it is this place. And I often call it a creator studio. And we're seeing that this year, that more and more of the people some people have been there for a while, they are stepping up and they're doing things for the whole community. And I also feel the other things with the Inner Circle that I love is that on Facebook, we have this melting pot with everybody and so many beginners that don't even know where to start. The Inner Circle has a path. So when you don't know where to start, there is a curriculum, like there is something that we are doing every month, and there is more clarity on those bits and pieces that you could start with. So I like to have this more guided creation that we have in there. And like you say, absolutely. And, for me, there has been before, when we had much more women for a long time, I had this feeling of like the yin and the yang, and I want both. And now some of our more active members are men. And I just like, I love when we have that richness of so many different qualities and expressions in there. So yeah, I'm excited about it. And I also know that it's going to morph and change many more times.
Yes, we're adaptable, and we feel into the container, and sometimes it dies to transform. But shout out, yeah, to the men. Hey, Jeremy and Hunter and Thierry, thank you so much for being part of our community and being so active as well and sharing your essence, because we do generally attract a lot of females, a lot of feminine energy. And so to have that masculine anchoring is so important. And that's what Bella desires and feels into as well. And we've been calling that in more and more. And I love the quality of sacred masculine that's showing up to kind of anchor us. So it's beautiful. So brought to you by the Inner Circle. That is where the Thrive by Design journey will be. And you can follow this link if you want to sign up and join us. We start our intensive next week, and we'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. But let's unlock the Splenic Hub together. Let's do it. Okay. So this is where we'll hang out for a little bit together. Again, you can see that the splenic center is here in the body graph, and it is so beautiful. It links to the throat, to the G, to the sacral, and to the root, and to the ego hub, to the ego center. It does not link with the emotional center, however, but it was at one point together when we were 7-centered beings, and part of the split was that these two split apart. Is there anything you want to say about that, Bella? That's kind of, I mean, that's what I heard. Is that's correct, right? I don't want to give misinformation.
3 awareness centers. Yeah. So somehow when we started with the body graph, when it was the root and the sacral, it was easy. We could just take the root chakra and the sacral chakra, and we were doing those intros for each one of the centers. And then I realized when we were doing the solar plexus, like I can't say that's the 3rd chakra, because then I would have to include the spleen. I would have to even include the ego, because there is something with the 3rd chakra. It has to do with determination and the will, and that is in the ego center. So as you're saying, here in the 9-centered being, we can't just use the chakras or the 7 centers in order to say, okay, this is this center, this is this chakra. But I do want to say here that the splenic center is the most primitive awareness. So that's what animals also have. It's a body instinct that is going to help you survive, and it's going to keep you safe, because it's going to have those signals that you are in danger, and then it's taking you out of danger so you can survive. So it's a primitive awareness. And then we have the ajna, which is the mind awareness, which is the human awareness that we don't have in animals. And that's what we have been using and developing now for, especially like since the 1800s. It's been, and we can see that also in the era of the cross of planning, where we have a first line reality, we have the 9 and the 16, a lot of detail, and we are problem solving. And however, now that we're going into 2027, it's not going to be enough to have body awareness in the spleen and kind of mental awareness and left brain problem solving. We are going to need to develop the solar plexus, which is the 3rd awareness center, which has been in mutation already. It's already happening. It's a motor and it's an awareness center, and it's going to be a felt sense of intelligence and awareness. So we did speak about that more last month. So if you're interested, it's still available. But the new human being has this triple awareness that comes from the combination of the spleen, the ajna, and the solar plexus. So we are moving with body awareness, with this machine that is our mind, that is amazing, and also the felt awareness that we have with all those Pisces gates, all those more emotionally intelligent gates of the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we had to have these years of development of the center. Like Bella said, I think the 1800s is when the split happened, and we were kind of in, like, it was just coming out of the dark ages. So we had to develop our emotional competency and maturity, and still people kind of don't have that. And if you look at the gene key profile, you're going to see your EQ, that 7-year cycle from 8 to 14. That's where we're developing our emotional competency. And if you look at that gene key that you have activated within, they're going to see what you're meant to transform to be able to get into the gift of that emotional center. And the raves, like Bella was talking about, the evolved human race, they are going to be able to interpret that emotional center, and they're going to be able to speak through that, through the waters of emotions, and have all those other awareness centers. So and that's something that we experience too, when we can detach enough from our emotions, not push them away. When we can detach from it, we're able to use that emotional waters for understanding and clarity as well. But you kind of need to ride it until those waves are done. And that's what we kind of were talking about last month when we went into the solar plexus. But now that we're in the Splenic hub, we can see that this is not about emotions at all. This is about instinct, intuition, and body awareness. And I feel it's important to discern between all of those, because they are a little bit different, even though we have that. When we have body awareness, we're able to tap into that instinct and intuition, and they're going to speak to us in different ways and different times. Bella, did you want to jump in and add a little bit about that?
I think the difference that is most important between the spleen and the solar plexus is this whole timing thing. When we are in the spleen, it's spontaneous instinct is in the now. And what we know, if you have an emotional authority, is that it's important that you take time so that the emotional wave can kind of clear and that you feel clear. And it's even so, it goes so far. So Ra was saying, if you have an open spleen, and then you might actually have a defined solar plexus or not, but let's say you have, but what he says is spontaneity can kill you. And I think that that's a little bit like too much to say, but really in the center, when it's defined, you are working with your process, which is consistent, and you can really trust when there is this awareness in the now of something. The thing you want to understand is that when it's undefined, you are filtering everything. So it may not even be yours. So that thing, take it with a grain of salt, but spontaneity, if it's open, you're going to learn about your immune system. You're going to learn about those fears that are in here and what you're filtering. It's really about the wisdom and a learning process where you're a student if you have an undefined spleen. So it's not on the first thing that you feel that you jump on it. It's more about seeing how does it work through your filter, depending on what hanging gates you have, or you might not have any hanging gates. But if it's defined, spontaneity in the now, you can trust it. And it's much more spontaneity that says no than a spontaneity that says yes. So somehow when you have a defined spleen, and Ash and I were speaking about this before, you're this person, you're so intuitive, and you have all your cards and your pendulums and this and that, you're so intuitive, and you do readings for everybody. That's not really the splenic intuition. The splenic intuition is very much in the now. You're driving the car and you're like, you just find yourself taking another way home, and then you realize that if you hadn't, you would have been stuck in traffic or even something worse. So more a no than a yes, because remember, when it was animals in danger, it's to take you out of the danger or not have you go into the danger so that you can survive. Mm-hmm. So it's a body awareness. And of course, when we are evolved, it's going to be connected to the heart and that kind of intuition as well. But that is actually when we are very deconditioned, that all the parts of us are working together and the splits are bridged just through us living our strategy authority. And the last thing I'm going to say is that what Ra says, he says, people that have defined spleen are not more healthy than other people. It's not about defined or undefined, and the immune system is much stronger. It's actually based on strategy and authority. When you live as you in the world and you are aware of your conditioning, of your open centers, when you follow your strategy and authority, you are going to be healthy, whether you have a defined spleen or an undefined spleen. What we do know is that it takes longer for an undefined spleen to show that it's not feeling well, because it can take on a lot of things, a lot of toxins, a lot of everything. So when something comes to the surface in a defined spleen, often the case is that maybe it's too late to only use homeopathic doses and natural medicine. Sometimes we actually need to go and use something that is a little bit stronger. And I think that there's also something that has changed from 1990s to now, when Ra was saying allopathic medicine is for the defined spleen and homeopathic medicine or natural medicine is for the undefined. I think that now, as we are evolving, we're coming into sixth line reality in a few years. That means that all our bodies are more sensitive. So allopathic medicine, I think it's not good for anybody anymore. And that we are so far, even with the more natural medicines, so that's what all of us, even the defined spleen, can be helped because we know more than we did before. So when you read some of these things that were written 20 years ago, I don't necessarily think that you have to like do surgery or use allopathic conventional Western medicine just because you have a defined spleen. Just know that sometimes maybe if you have a defined spleen, it's easier to just take that pill for the migraine that one time and you will be fine. I see that with some of the people I work with. I can do that, or I can do it and it doesn't happen anything if I do it once. Somebody who takes aspirin that maybe has an undefined spleen can have like stomach ache and diarrhea and all this just for one thing. So know yourself. This is the thing for whether it's defined or undefined. Start to understand your body and your immune system. And that's also why we don't want to play too much with the immune system and do too many things so that it gets confused, because it has its unique way of working, which is the right way for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like it takes a little bit of deconditioning from what doctors say and everybody else is saying, like, take this, do that. This is going to make you healthier. You really need to feel into yourself. And I think that we all have a knowing of what we need, whether it is to take an aspirin or to grab a crystal or whatever it is, or to take like a tincture of something or plants. You know, I don't know. I just know that I generally know what I need, and I generally know what to give my kids. And I'm not sure where in the body graph that comes from, but it is, I mean, mother's intuition is a thing as well. And so you know what's best for you. And when we can move away from the fear of things, it helps us really have more clarity. But as soon as you're consumed in the fear, that can be what you're reacting to instead of responding to yourself. The same way that we may be reacting to the emotional charge we're feeling inside emotional waves. So this is the same thing. And there's different qualities of each of these gates. So the 48 is the fear of inadequacy. And that's going to lead you to continue to maybe get another certification, not feel like what you're bringing through is as deep as you can, feeling like what you bring to the table, people won't receive, won't want. Like there's something really, really deep and dark about that 48 fear of inadequacy. And it holds people back from really showing up and bringing their depth, bringing that wisdom. It has nothing to do with anything. Like the 48 is not linked to the ajna or the head center. It's linked to your splenic hub. It's linked to that. It's super deep inside your cells, inside of your body. And that wisdom is drawn out of you when you allow it to, instead of recalling the things you've learned. You may use the things you've learned to go deep into the well of wisdom within you, and it may trigger a remembering, but that well of wisdom is inside of you. It's not outside of you. And then we have the 57, and that gate is the fear of tomorrow, the fear of the future. And this is also the gate of intuition. And so when you can feel forward into the future, it may cause that anxiety of what's to come, especially if you don't have a lot of clarity on that. Bella, did you want to speak anything on the 57, since you do have that as your education?
Yeah, I think this goes together with the strategy and authority. What happens when you don't live as you in the world? The shadow frequencies are like cutting off your life. So if I'm not living as who I am, which is very much that 57 together with the 34 in that channel between the spleen and the sacral, that's what makes me a sacral generator, and I have that channel twice. So if I am not living as who I am, I'm going to be punished with unease and with this feeling that I'm forcing life, which is the 34. So for me, that's the most important thing. When I feel that unease, I know, okay, where am I not living as me? Where am I trying to be something that I'm not? That's what the 57 tells me. And the 57 is severe in that sense. because, and you know, if you have the 57, you know, and the 51, I think you can feel it too, the programming partner, that agitation, that unease in the body, that something is wrong. You can feel it in your solar plexus or your chest as this thing. You can't put your finger on it, but you just know something is wrong. Something is wrong, and it won't let you rest. And this is, I believe, why many people, those two gene keys, the 51 and 57, why we are using like anxiety, like this is really something that is, it's not going to leave you for a moment. And I feel like the way that we prescribe things for general unease is not very smart. And I was just watching something 2 days ago about those, what I can't say it in English, but like volume, you know, the things that those anti-anxiety that you get super addicted to, and actually it doesn't take it away, and you need to use more. So there is something here where going into the unease and saying, where am I not being me? Where am I not following my design? And even tapping into, you know, like the higher design. Ash and I have been reading a book the last few days that somebody in our community spoke to us about. What is it, Ashley? I Remember Union.
Yeah.
And they are speaking not about human design, but it's the story of Mary Magdalene and how she came into the world remembering the design that she was here to live out. So she had this big perspective. So sometimes I think that's also like assuming thing. You can feel into your body graph and living your design, but you're also here to live a design in the bigger sense. And maybe if you're looking at your incarnation cross and you see that bigger theme that you're here to live out, and then when you feel unease or agitation, ask yourself, where am I not tuning into that bigger perspective, that design that I'm here to anchor into this reality and live out?
Yeah. Well, okay. So while you were speaking, the door like came open and this gust of wind came in. And you know how the 57 is a gentle wind? I'm like, that wasn't so gentle. And like when you were speaking, my breast started to hurt, and I was like, oh, body awareness, what is happening here? And I just can see like this mother with this overflowing milk, and it's like when you brought in Mary Magdalene, because I was like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me through my body. And we don't always have clarity in the now for what the heck our intuition is telling us. And I was like sitting here and my boobs were hurting. I was like, I don't know what's happening. What are you trying to talk to me about? And then you brought in Mary Magdalene. I was like, oh, okay. And I was listening to it, and Mary Magdalene was speaking about her blooming, her becoming, and how all of the older women were telling her, like, this is your place, you know, men will touch you here, and babies will suckle you here. And they were just telling her all these different places. And one of the things that Mother Mary told her was, the places of the body are for pleasure and for nurturing, for you and for others. And when you're thinking about this body awareness, you're here to nurture yourself. When you ignore that feeling inside of your body, like, oh, I need to pee, I'll just hold it off. I'll just wait. And then you're like, I really got to pee. Like, if we could just tune into our body, like, what is it saying to me right now? What does it need? You know? And like I don't know. I just can feel like my, it's so graphic, but I just want to like grab my boobs. I just want to like be in my body. It's so weird and saying this like on a live, but that's what I'm feeling. And I kind of also was feeling into the 27, you know, like all the things that I've read and experienced, and like the 22 has nothing to do with the splenic hub, but it does have a lot to do with the sacred seals and also the initiations. And I remember reading about the cosmic mother and the overflowing milk that you experience, you know, when you are in I think it's the Annunciation. I don't really remember, but that's kind of what's coming to me. So the 48, that well of wisdom, we're going to bring this remembering through the things that we're learning here, but there's a remembering and a knowing that comes deep within our body. And that's the remembrance of the truth of who we are, and the truth of our wholeness, and the truth of our design. Like Bella was saying, like your intuition is guiding you towards your design and like taking you down the road of that. It's awesome. It all makes sense. Sit with what's coming to you. And it may not make sense in the now. I'm like, okay, wind, gentle wind, that's not so gentle. What are you trying to tell me? So that's the 57. And then I could have gotten anxiety of like, I'm not going to deliver the message. I don't know what you're saying. I'm confused. What if I say it comes out wrong? And then you wait and you have patience, and eventually you have the clarity, which is the higher expression of the 57. Okay, so the 48, the 57, the 44, the fear of the past. And this one is interference, teamwork, and synarchy. And with our experiences with people, and we've had maybe not so pleasant ones, when we fear the past, we don't open ourselves up to the divine game players that we may be bringing in through our fractal. We're like, oh, I don't, they feel similar to that. And this person betrayed me and I can't go into it. It's not worth it. You know, what do you feel about the 44? I kind of feel like we're going around the fears of all of this. It's what it feels like we're doing right now.
Yeah, I have the third line, so I don't think I ever learn. Like I'm always going to jump there again in the 44, and I do believe that there is a discernment, though. I do believe that there is this thing of sniffing people, and I can even feel, you know, before when I was traveling a lot, and you sit in the airplane, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to sit next to this person for 3 hours, or however long the flight is. So it is this body awareness of like how healthy somebody else is, or how, you know, you can feel how much that aura is interfering in your aura. So you are going to know if you want to do anything. And, you know, it is connecting in the body graph to the 26. So you can really feel like with this person, is there a message to the world? And for me as a 4-6, like I'm always kind of saying, is there an opportunity here to tell the world a message? And the 44 just knows. And it's something that isn't logical. So when the 44 has to explain, you know, why don't you want this person to be part of our team? Or why do you have, like, why are you careful with this? You know, it needs to just say, I just feel it. I just know it. So there's something that makes me think here in the 44 with the spleen, don't make it a mental thing. The ajna might be able to be certain or not about something, but here in the spleen, it's really just a felt sense. You don't have to explain it. You just have to know it and follow it. Because if you don't follow it, then you can be stuck with something that isn't good for you. And that's the not self, both actually for the undefined and the defined in a sense. If you don't listen to that, then you might be stuck with something that can linger for a long time that is not helping your immune system, your health, your well-being, your feel good.
Yeah. And sometimes even when we do feel the no, sometimes it's a reaction to our wounding as well. Like you can smell that maybe those people are similar to that person, and then you're like, that's a no. But you are also robbing yourself of the reconciliation and resolution of that trigger with that other person. So it's like they are a divine healer coming to you, and maybe they surprise you and they are actually in fact different than the other person, or maybe that pattern plays out again, but you get the opportunity to respond differently. You get the opportunity to forgive. You get the opportunity to whatever it is, you know. And that's what I'm learning. I have 44.1 and I'm like, it's better alone. It's better alone. It's not worth it. I have my select people. Is this nourishing my soil or is this not? But sometimes with Bella, with the 44.3, she brings in new people and I'm like, okay, I'm still feeling the resistance. And then I see certain patterns that those people hold. I'm like, okay, this is similar. Let me work through this. And sometimes it doesn't work out. So sometimes my intuition is like, yeah, those aren't my people. This isn't my jam. And sometimes my intuition is not even my intuition. It's like this body, like, ooh, not safe. Ooh, like it's like this contraction, you know, and that's not, your intuition is going to guide you. My instinct was probably like, ooh, this isn't going to be a good experience. And my intuition was like, but still move forward. You know, it's like you may have contradictory things inside of you. And I deal with that a lot inside of me that I have to discern. Why is one part of me wanting to move forward with this? And one part of me is like, oh, but I know that there is transformation to be had when I can follow my intuition, because normally the is my instinct and but keep going forward is my intuition.
And I think this is something we're going to dive deeper into once we go into this intensive that we're going to do with the spleen, because I think the trauma, and it's like a buzzword right now, possibly you feel, but there is something here where when there is trauma, your body can tell you something to keep you safe, but it's not actually what, you know, following that is not going to have you move beyond some of the trauma and experience more bliss and more health and more connection. So I think we want to go into also those times where the PTSD of the trauma says one thing, but truly your body awareness, it's actually shadowed by that, and you actually don't even hear it. So that is more advanced, and but absolutely that's something we have all experienced trauma in different degrees, and even if we feel like we haven't experienced this in this lifetime, it's part of the DNA, so we all carry it. And it's, I think, especially with this center, it's something that we want to look at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we have gate 50. This is fear of responsibility. So we call this archetype the maestro, and it moves from corruption to equilibrium to harmony. And there's a lot of deep down in the cells. And it's also in the lineage. So some of the corruption, most of the corruption comes through the blood, comes through the DNA, comes through what you're inheriting from your mother and your father. And it's the responsibility carrying the weight of what was to come before. And what rules are you going to instill? What song are you going to sing? Are you going to sing the song of your people? Or are you going to sing the song of your soul? Because sometimes we get stuck in the culture, stuck in, and that I feel like I can feel the 50 and the 32 in a way here, because the 32, I can feel them both coming in here. So the 32 is the fear of failure, and the 50 is the fear of responsibility. Diving into the DNA and the gene keys is such an amazing work, because it does allow us to find that higher expression in the shadow, within the shadow, where human design is really cut and dry. This is this and this is that. Gene keys gives us the frequency bands and the potential to go within there to transform it. So we're not trying to push away the shadow, we're entering the shadow, and it's transforming us and transforming the frequency.
Yeah, this place in the wheel is between Libra and Scorpio. So all of these Splenic gate, if you look at the wheel and where they come in the transits, they're going to be Libra, Scorpio. So it's about the weighing the equilibrium, and it's also about the fears in a way that we have and the shadows that we have to meet in Scorpio. And when we speak about the 50 and the 32, they are right there in the middle. If we say that we start in gate 3 with eternal child, which is in the beginning of the year, right, the astrological year, and then when we are halfway through, we are in that point between the 50 and the 32. So for me, in both those keys, there is really a discernment. And it's a discernment of how are we moving on? What's worth preserving? How do we move on in more harmony? How do we weed out some of that corruption and some of those things that aren't worth preserving? And I think that both those keys or those gates or those archetype have an inherent knowing of what is it that is worth to have for the future. The 50 is the education of our children. So it's the values that go into the next generation. And then the 32 as well. It doesn't plant the tree today to just use it as, fuel in the fireplace for this generation. It's choosing the crop that can feed generations on. So really both those keys are in that, the harmony for the future, and seeing, well, what do we invest in? How can we have reverence for this planet and for the people of this planet for the coming generations?
Yeah.
And I think it can feel like, I'm thinking, like, how does this actually tune into body awareness? Like what I see, I have both those two. I have the 32 twice, and in Pluto and Saturn, and I have the 50 on the other side in my Pluto. And what came to me is like, the nails on a chalkboard. Like there is something sometimes when I see things in this world that we're doing as humans that feels like the nails on a chalkboard, because I just know inherently that they are so far away from reverence and veneration of this world and of everything we've gotten with Mother Earth and our own makeup. And I think that that's a discernment that the 30 and the 52 can have. They just know when something is corrupt and it's not serving the whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to show this because you did mention about Scorpio and Libra, and where it sits, and actually all the spleen activations are in the same place, where you can see there's dispersion through the wheel, the mandala. This is 365 days in the year, right? And so you can see that in Libra and in Scorpio we have all of the splenic gates together. So
It's color coded. So just how to look at this chart is color coded. So you see the color of the center, and then you're going to see the gates that have that color. So like you see the spleen is yellow, and then all the yellow gates are on that side of the wheel where Ashley has the rectangle. So I love to look at this wheel. It's powerful.
Let me get rid of that. There we go. Yeah. So and then moving forward, I mean, Bella spoke wonderfully about the 32, and she has the 32 and the 50 as well. And the 32 is the fear of failure, the ultimate fear of death, and failure would be to not survive, to not continue. And so that's where that instinct comes in, to perpetuate the species, to keep it going. And we get to also decide what dies and what stays alive within us, and what we're carrying on from generations, what we're carrying on from the community, from our cultures, from everything. And what do we want to water, and what do we want to let die? You know, and you get to decide what you want to preserve in your life, not just your life, what's your legacy too? How are you?
And that is such an important quality of the spleen. You know, what gets to linger, what doesn't get to linger, that even puffs, or how you say, like that pierces the whole not self thing, because the not self thing is, you know, am I holding on to something that's not good for me? So when you get to ask this question, you naturally tune into the true self of you, and having your spleen working for you and not against you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the last two that we have in the spleen are the 28 and the 18. The 28 is the fear of death. That one's a powerful one. So we have purposelessness, totality, and immortality. And
yeah, this one is the ruler of my chart, because I am my rising sign is Cancer, and then the moon is in 28. I also have my Jupiter here. I think that this goes back into circuitry. This is also something we go deep into when we are doing the intensive. So when Ashley was saying right before the 32, she's like, oh, this is the fear of failure, the fear of that, the ultimate fear of failure. The 32 is part of the tribal circuitry. So it's going to think about, I die, my tribe die, like my whole, you know, it's about me and my tribe. And the 32 is together with the 54, and that's, you know, the ascend, like the aspiration of the tribe to survive and to be richer and to have more. When we go into the 28, here we have individual circuitry. So here it's about you and your knowing and your empowerment in the world. Is a very different quality, because it doesn't include the tribe. It even kind of looks at the tribe and like it doesn't even understand the feeling for the tribe, because it's so individual. So this 28, I always speak about it like existential despair. I think that it works together a lot with those integration channels. We are speaking about the 34, the 57. The two other gates are the 10 and the 20, that are very busy with themselves and surviving. When we have the 28 and the 38, it's what can take that integration circuitry and make it less selfish. Why? Because the 28 is all about the individual and your own existential experience of life. And at the same time, because the keynote here is purpose. We know inherently as human beings that it's not just me, it's something bigger than me that is the purpose. So it's an extremely individual gate, but it takes us to the purpose, which can't be just you selfishly. Then you are not in a higher frequency. So there is something extremely interesting with the 28. It's also part of the ring of illusion, the code ring of illusion with the 32. That's also a fun combination, that both are afraid of failure. And they can, in the low frequency, these two keys can like really lead you astray. And live life from a place of complete, I would say, lack of freedom, from the fear of failure and the fear of, you know, the fear of not living or the fear of dying. So like what's the one sentence for the 28? The one sentence for the 28 is that the adventure is worth it. Even if you know, that it's better to live than not to live. And the day that you die, you're going to feel back your life and feel and say, was it worth it? And it's usually not the things that you did that you are going to regret. Is often the things that you didn't do. So the 28 is a reality check every single day. I would say together with the 32, like, are you living a life that's worth living? Are you taking the risks that are worth taking? Are you preserving the things that are worth preserving? Are you living your adventure? Is your life in totality every day when you go to bed? Do you feel like that day was in totality? Or are you postponing your life to some future illusion? Because the future doesn't exist and the past doesn't exist. So there is a deep existential, philosophical like thing in those keys that I think is interesting. But it's also such a big part of my chart. So maybe I'm like going a bit too far here.
No, go as far and deep as you'd like. People resonate. Yeah. And I mean, it's your Jupiter. So of course I don't know, there's going to be this deeper expanded version coming out of you as well. And your moon being that. So I don't know, with your experience. Yeah. Okay, the last one is the 18, and the 18 has, it's called the perceiver, and we have judgment, integrity, and perfection. And this one is all about the fear of authority. And it's a difficult one in a way. I have the whole channel with the 1858. And when you're sensing authority and you have it in the spleen, it's about having that fear, or that intuition of what needs to be corrected, what needs to be changed, and the pressure that's coming from the 58. They're going to meet together to make that, to go up against that authority, to make that change and correction happen. But you can also feel that fear and that recognition of that authority, and also what needs to change. And it can create so much polarity and more like agitation inside of you. That's what I experience anyways. And I have the 18 in my IQ sphere, which is my conscious Venus. But yeah.
Yeah, I think people that have in their activation sequence the 18 and the 17, because they always go together, that's the risk of actually being kind of taken out of your spleen somehow, because the 17 is in the ajna, and it's also very much about like looking at those patterns and how they can be improved, and that can take you out of the body and into the mental improvement of things. So I think it's important to know when you have the 18 that you have those different awareness centers, the felt awareness, and then the intelligence of your mind, and also the body awareness, and find a way of balancing those different inputs, and not just do the things from the mind and be a person who just points out what needs to be corrected. And especially if you don't have the 58, that there is something here with the connection to the root and that vitality in the 58. But if you don't have it, I think it can sometimes even be more challenging, because you see all the flaws, but you don't necessarily have the life force or the vitality or the perseverance either to go after them and fix them. So you might just be somebody who complains a lot and sees all the faults of everything.
The same way for the 58 of recognizing the dissatisfaction and I don't like this, but I don't really know they don't have a solution. They don't have the intuition of knowing how that needs to be corrected. They have the energy, but they're like, oh, I just don't like this. I don't like this, So they're friends. They come together, just like anything. When you're looking at your body graph, seeing where you have those hanging gates, the ones that don't have the whole channel, it's like you're reaching out for that friend to come in to help you bring the energy from one side to the other. And it's all about the flow of energy and the movement of things. And that's what we're doing when we are using our intuition too. Body awareness. What is body awareness? It's about being able to sense, what are you filtering? What's coming from you? What's of you? And what's coming into you? And how are you interpreting that? And your intuition is going to feel into the emotions that are coming in, or they're going to feel the thoughts that are coming in. Me and Bella, I'll say something, she's like, oh, I was thinking that. Or she'll say something and I was thinking. We both have open head and ajna. So we're just passing stuff between each other. I don't know if it came down divinely or one of us got it and then the other one got it. We don't know. There's no discernment there. It's like, who got it? Where was it sourced? I don't know. Both of us have gate 11, which is ideas. So we all have tons of ideas and hearing each other's stuff. So your intuition is the ability intuition is not emotional. And so it's our reaction to what our intuition is telling us. Your intuition say, move across the country. And you're like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. But that's what your intuition is telling you. And it's not an emotional decision or emotional thing that it's giving to you, but our reaction to what our intuition is telling us can. And sometimes our intuition, our inner guidance, or our higher self, or our soul is speaking to us through our intuition, speaking to us through our feelings, whatever it is, it's speaking to us. And then we have a reaction to it. And that's our ego. That's our little self being like, oh, this design, I don't know if I like this design. I don't know if I want this destiny. But once you hear it, it's going to tell you, and it's going to whisper it to you. You know, it's going to come and go, and you're like, whoa, what was that? And then it's going to come and go. You know, it's in the now. Your intuition, your instinct, your body awareness, it's like now, in the present, happening now, right now, right now, right now. And that's it. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like we need to feel into our intuition, because initially we were like, you guys on the webinar were going to pick the archetype that we went into, and then we went into almost all of them. So I'm also wondering, what do you feel, Bella? We do need to talk a little bit about the inner circle, but what do you feel intuitively to enrich this container as well?
Yeah, I have one more thing that comes back from what you said in the beginning and I didn't go into that I want to share. I see that some people have used the Q&A. So if you're on and you have a burning question, you can put it in the Q&A. We don't promise to go to all of them, but we'll go through them, because I think that there are some things there that can be more exciting than even choosing one archetype and going deeper, because we already went deep. What I am feeling, Ashley, would you bring up the keyhole again? Because I'm just seeing what that symbolizes for me. You know, you see that Ashley and I both have a mandala today behind us. I have many different backdrops. I've been using this for a while, and there somebody in the Gene Keys ambassador, she says, Bella, like, you know, I like seeing you, but I'm stuck on like looking at this thing behind you, because for her it was like, even the colors and the way it's laid out, it was like hypnotizing for her. And she, like, I went back and see, where did I get it from? I think it was Etsy or something. But there, you can see that there is a geometry that has a harmony, or like a kind of perfection. Also in what Ashley has behind her, there's a geometry. And the way that the keyhole or the key head was made out for this sphere, it has that perfection. It has the flower of life. It has that geometry. And this is what I feel it's so important to understand about the immune system, about your system and your body. We are all connected, but it has a unique way. And if you go deeper, you're going to see Ross speaks about B cells and about, you know, like he goes into on a biological level, really to the science of this. But for me, we don't even have to go there, especially not today. But there is a perfection in the way that your immune system works. And we know there has been, you know, pandemics for like ever, as long as the human being was here. And we have it also with different kinds of animals. And like, it's the way that our DNA mutates. And it's something that it's the way that we evolve. And I think in what's so short as one human lifetime, we have to trust that we have been equipped with an immune system that is perfect for our vessel. And that's what I think this intensive and the work that we do with this is to come back and trust the immune system. And I think that there has been a lot of things these last 2 years that have made us think that we aren't that perfect, and that there is an outside enemy that can come and destroy us. And I feel, you know, the way that I grew up, it's even good to have a flu or a cold sometimes. And in Sweden, we're not like overly. In Italy, I know when I moved there, everything is like antibacterial, and you like wipe your counter many times a day, and it's 99% like killing everything. And the way that I grew up in Sweden was not really like that. Kids are like they are in the sand and they are eating things and tasting things. This is building our immune system. And especially with like what we are saying with the undefined spleen, it is that it takes a little bit of time for your immune system to learn to what is good for it and what isn't good for it. And just coming back and trusting the perfection of your immune system, and knowing that the more that we interfere with it, the more it can actually get confused. And then that is going to confuse your whole makeup. And if you think about it, like think about the body graph. If you think about all the channels that goes from the spleen and go to everything that is on that side of the body graph, you're going to see that everything is splenic. Think about the body graph. Think about this side that the spleen is on. Everything that goes out from that side is splenic. So it's huge. It's huge when it comes to how we work and how we are informed. So just see it as this like superpower that you have. And it's also something that can tell, like it's really going to be able to tell you when something is healthy and when it isn't. It's a superpower.
You're all superhumans. allow your immune system to work. Give yourself time to develop things. Like, don't bubble yourself off. Germs are healthy. Germs activate the immune system. Trust your body. Here's another thing. Trust your body. It's about body awareness. It's also about trusting your body. You can trust that it knows down to the cells how to survive. Just allow it to do its job and stop interfering in some ways as well. Okay, so we're going to, this is the way that the rest of our time together is going to work. So there are quite a bit of questions in the Q&A that we do want to get to. These questions will not be streamed live. We are going to end this webinar streaming live in about 5 minutes, and then we're going to come into this container where we're all gathering, and we'll go over the questions, and that replay will be emailed out to the people that are registered. So if you do want to stay for the Q&A and you're not inside our Zoom container, I would register. Go to our cover photo and you can register for this event, and then we'll send the replay out to you. And for those of you that are in here, stay in here, because we're also going to be giving away the inner circle to one of you, and we're going to answer your questions. So this is kind of going to be a little more personal inside the Zoom container. So before we do leave, I do want to mention that next week, let me bring this up. Next week, Bella and I will be hosting an intensive in the inner circle. So the Splenic Hub intensive will start Monday and go to Friday. But the whole month, we are going to still be leaning into this instinct, intuition, and body awareness. So the inner circle is our membership. And inside that, you have access to the Academy, which is our online learning platform, and then the Facebook page. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of community happening within the Facebook page. It is $44 a month. And so Facebook Community Academy portal, we have discussion prompts. We're going to bring in some intuitive games. So that'll be fun too, really learning to develop your intuition. We're going to be going into the body and health as well, I know. And we'll have an embodiment webinar together. The teaching will also happen next week as well. We're going to do chart readings for people that are in the inner circle. So the focus will be on the Splenic Hub. So you'll see that live. But if you are in the inner circle, you have the opportunity to have a chance to win a chart reading, and then whatever else our intuition brings through for us there. So yeah, this is inside the Academy portal. So this was from the Sacral Hub. So you can see that we list everything in here. There's rolling content happening in the inner circle. So you have to be live and present for this Thrive by Design series. Although people that are in the inner circle do get access to what we call the vault. And that's all of this previous videos and activations and meditations and things that we've done in the past. There's even a couple courses in there as well. So not only are you getting what's alive right now, you're also getting content in the vault that we wanted to share with you. Bella, I think that this would be an amazing time for you to share, like, what are the intention and the core pillars of what the inner circle is now? Like, how did it change, and why are we shifting to like the community aspect of things?
Yeah, we were considering even making it like a Netflix subscription and doing maybe daily horoscopes and just bring to you everything that is passing through me and Ashley. But really, like what I am seeing, like what I was saying before, that where we have more richness in who is joining, we have more men, we have younger people, we have people from different nationalities, we have people that are beginners, we have people that have been in the inner circle for 3-4 years and they're still there. Like what we are seeing is that that's the most exciting aspect of it. Absolutely. And there also has become this openness with Ashley that before I think was not 100% there, to allow people to also share, come in and step up into leadership. Because at the end of the day, so much that we're doing with our Business by Design courses and program, it is about fostering the courage to step up to not only you living your design, but you in leadership. And the inner circle, I would say it's not that it's much easier just because it's the inner circle. It is a brave step to say, I have something to share and I want to start here with this community because I feel like these are like-hearted and like-minded people. So for me, it's becoming an incubator where we have at least 5 people that I know in 2022 that will step up and do something. So if you feel like you're not only wanting to subscribe to like a Netflix thing, but it's with human design and astrology and that kind of thing, but you also want to co-create and you want to be live in the energy, then definitely this is a place to come. And that's also why we don't exactly know. We just want to hold this container where people can come into their leadership and start sharing with the world.
Yeah. So if it calls to you, please sign up. Go to bit.ly/innercircle-44 up here, and you can sign up with us. And it's $44 a month. We do have an option where you can sign up for a recording reading, and some people have taken advantage of that. Those 20-minute readings are so powerful. It's like you think, oh, 20 minutes. No, Bella and I go through.
Because you're not on, and we just get to like look at the blueprint. Sometimes we speak like half an hour before even about it, and then we just like go. So yeah, I don't even know why we're doing this for what is it, $100? But we are. So
we're doing it. We're doing it. So take advantage until we don't do it anymore. But then our intuition is like, keep doing it, even though our person is like, what? Okay. Anyways, again, thank you so much for joining us for our Splenic Hub webinar. If you're inside the webinar with us, please stay. We're going to go into questions and answers, and we're going to give away the inner circle to one lucky winner. We also have a secret code for you to put in if you want to join the inner circle, and you're going to get a discount off the inner circle that the people.
We're going to give away a month, right?
We're going to give away a month, and we're going to give you a discount code as well. So it pays to be inside of our container. So thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook and YouTube, and we will see you soon. Do you want to take off the live?